Welcome to our channel HASHMICLINICS.
Welcome! Today, we are diving deep into the clinical picture of a really fascinating remedy, Anagallis Arvensis. Now, you might actually know it by its more common name, the Scarlet Pimpernel. Right off the bat, the plant's name gives us a huge clue. The Greek name for Anagallis literally means to laugh out loud. Now, this is way more than just a fun fact. It points directly to one of the most standout mental symptoms of this remedy, this state of profound, totally uncaused joy. So let's really establish the core identity of this remedy. I like to call it the cheerful irritant, and you are about to see exactly why that name fits so perfectly. This right here, this is the absolute heart of Anagallis. It's a remedy built on a paradox. You've got on one hand a body that is just intensely irritated. I mean, we're talking about maddening, can't stop thinking about it itching. But then on the other hand, the mind is in the state of unexplainable exhilaration. This weird mix of physical misery and mental joy, that is the absolute core of the Anagallis picture. And you'll see the strange duality play out across several key systems in the body. The skin is, of course, front and center, especially around the palms and fingers, but the remedy's influence doesn't stop there. It also really hits the mind, the urinary organs, the nerves, and even the joints. These are the main arenas where its key symptoms are going to show up. So let's zoom in on that mental state for a minute. This isn't just about someone being in a good mood. No, it's a very specific picture of joy that has no real cause. And it's a joy that can suddenly flip into its complete opposite. And you can see that duality perfectly right here. On one side, you have great hilarity. The person is just joyful for no reason, their mind is racing in a good way, and everything seems to bring them pleasure. They can be really easily excited, both mentally and sexually. But then, look at the other side. Great prostration. After any kind of mental effort, they can just collapse into exhaustion or even fall into a deep despondency. It's a true state of extremes, a real Jekyll and Hyde situation. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the physical symptoms, because some of these are among the most peculiar and honestly unforgettable in our entire Materia Medica. I like to call them the itch, the stream, and the splinter. So the itch. The skin symptoms are just defined by their intensity. We're talking about an intense itching and tingling all over the body. But, and this is the absolute keynote you have to remember, it's the itching on the palms of the hands that is just made better by rubbing. You might also see these dry, kind of bran-like eruptions, sometimes in rings and little blisters that ooze a yellow-brown fluid. Fun fact, it's also known to help push out splinters and even get rid of warts. Now for the stream. This is one of those wonderfully strange and peculiar symptoms that makes homeopathy so precise. First, the person actually has to press, to strain, just to start urinating. And then, when it finally comes, the stream itself is divided or forked. You can see how this would be a highly characteristic, unforgettable symptom to look for. And finally, the splinter. This quote from the source material just captures this sensation perfectly. Anagallis patients can feel like they're being pricked by pins or splinters seemingly out of nowhere. As the quote says, it can be a feeling in the chest as if struck with a cushion full of pins, or even a shocking sensation in the hand, like a pin is being thrust right through it. Okay, so you know in any case, it's absolutely crucial to understand what makes the symptoms better or worse. So let's take a look at the key modalities, the triggers and the relievers for Anagallis. This gives us a really clear summary. Generally, symptoms get worse from being touched and after eating. And that mental exhaustion we talked about, that comes on right after any mental exertion. Now, on the better side, coffee can sometimes relieve a headache, and we already know that itching on the palms is better from rubbing. And then there's this very strange and characteristic one. A burning in the urethra is actually relieved by coition. These unique modalities are just vital for confirming you've got the right remedy. So how does this all play out in a practical sense? Well, it is absolutely essential to know how to differentiate Anagallis from other remedies that can look kind of similar on the surface. This comparison is just so important for clinical precision. I mean, look at Coffea cruda. It shares that mental exhilaration, but it's missing the defining skin and urinary symptoms. Then there's Primula obconica, which is a botanical relative. It has intense skin irritation for sure, but not that trademark mental hilarity. And if you see a case of ringworm, you might think of sepia or delirium, but they just don't have that uncaused joy or the bizarre forked urinary stream. All right, let's wrap this up. For our final section, we're going to distill everything we've talked about down into a few key prescribing pearls to make Anagallis absolutely unforgettable. Look, When it comes right down to it, if you want to feel confident prescribing Anagallis, you just need to remember 3 primary keynotes. Just 3. And here it is, the Anagallis triad. First, the mind, that uncaused hilarity, that great cheerfulness, even when they're physically suffering. Second, the skin, that intense vesicular itching, especially on the palms, that feels better from rubbing. And third, the sensations, those weird feelings of splinters or pins and that very characteristic forked urinary stream. If you can burn this triad into your memory, you have absolutely grasped the essence of Anagallis. So I'll leave you with a question. The next time a patient with a maddening, intractable itch walks into your office, but they seem oddly cheerful about the whole thing, remember the Scarlet Pimpernel. Could Anagallis be the exact remedy you're looking for? Thanks for joining me.
Professor Dr. Rafat Hashmi is a distinguished homeopathic physician, educator, and researcher with over 4 decades of clinical and teaching experience. He is widely respected for his deep command of Materia Medica, repertory, and constitutional prescribing, combined with a practical, patient-centered approach. Dr. Hashmi has dedicated his career to training generations of homeopathic doctors, blending classical principles with modern clinical insight. He is also known for his innovative work in digital homeopathy, developing educational content, clinical tools, and AI-assisted systems to enhance remedy selection and case analysis. With a strong commitment to ethical practice and lifelong learning, Professor Dr. Rafat Hashmi continues to guide, inspire, and elevate the standards of homeopathic education and patient care.